Oh, you can't quit yet. I haven't mapped all your voice to the AI yet.
Sorry. Is that why you have me read those random script words every day?
Yeah. There's a couple words that we haven't actually said on this podcast yet. That's why I texted you xylophone the other day just in case.
Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
This is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On Podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, imagine if Mario and Luigi, instead of teaming up to get all the 30 and 40-year-olds to go to the movie theater, I guess, judging by my my visit to the Alamo Theater last night, had teamed up to get all the 30 and 40-year-olds to listen to a podcast about movies instead. Is that fair, Cory?
Can you just put this as a blanket statement right now? If you're going to go to the movies and you want to see something dumb but fun, go see Dungeons and Dragons.
I don't even think Dungeons and Dragons was that dumb. I think you're underselling how good Dungeons and Dragons was.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm just trying to be like, don't go see the Mario movie that you're just going to watch on streaming
it's
and be
too
like,
late.
That was fine.
Cool. We're literally the last two people on Earth that haven't seen it. It's only us. The movie made $1 bajillion. There's going to be a Nintendo Extended Universe. How excited are you?
This
for
is
the Super
Italian
Smash Bros.
American.
Movie?
I don't know why Super Smash Bros. This movie sounds kind of lit.
Don't do this. This is the problem, Cory. This is the problem. Think of how fucking stupid that plot would be. What would it be?
I don't actually. There's not a plot to those games, though.
It would be like
it's Mortal Kombat, but with Mario. If we make it rated R, though.
You remember that anime that used to run on Cartoon Network, like late night when we were kids, called, like Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yeah.
Every single season, I think, you had like it was the same plot where it led up to like the ghost tournament or some shit. Some anime nerd is yelling at their phone right now. I don't remember this at all, really.
But I think most of the show, at least shown in America, was like the same exact tournament, and it was like. There was like 5
So I'm not crazy.
That
was the plot of the show.
No. It was like the plot of the show wasn't that, but all of the things in syndication were just those episodes.
That's why every time I turn it on, it seemed to be that. Okay.
And
but I just imagine that would be the Super Smash Bros. Movie, but instead of that,
you're right. That sounds
Peach
horrible.
And
I mean, that's why
the
fighting
guy from Minecraft.
That sounds kind of funny though.
No, this is how they trap you, Cory. This is how they trap you. There's only 2 good animated movies that we care about coming up, and that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, I guess, which looks kind of wild.
It looks kind of fun.
Is that? It's not actually stop motion animated. It's just animation that looks kind of stop motion animated.
No, it kind of reminded me of the same team who did Mitchell's vs. the Machines. It just kind of, it's like just kind of like funky. I mean, thank God for the Spider-Verse because now every movie is gonna look weird now, and I'm very okay with it.
Yeah, and that's the other one. Obviously, the Spider-Verse which is coming.
Oh yeah, shit. I was like, what else is coming out this year? I'm like, absolutely, of course,
probably the most. It's got to be the most anticipated animated movie ever, right?
Which one? Sorry.
What is it called?
I'm just calling it Spider-Verse 2, man.
I don't remember. It's Spider-Verse 2, whatever.
Two-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse. There you go. The
Spider-Man
Spider-Man movies are, listen, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3. That's how we should name our movies.
I think that was the last one, though. There's no other.
Yeah, they do because I think.
Do you think that was the end of those?
Well, because there's definitely market research that proves, or I don't know if it actually proves it, but there's market research that says that your sequels will do worse if they have a number in them. Because even though presumably people know when they go to the movie theater to go see Spider-Man Homecoming, they know it's not the first Spider-Man movie. There's something about like if they haven't seen the other ones, they're less likely to see this one.
Weird.
But that's why none of these movies have numbers in them anymore.
But it makes it so much simpler, though.
Because I can never remember the Tom Holland Spider-Man order to save my life. It's like because none of them are fucking numbered. It's just nonsense.
What was the name of the second one?
No,
Far From Home.
Far From Home. Homecoming, Far From Home. Oh, Homecoming.
No Way Home.
One. Jesus Christ. See, I couldn't even remember which one was the first one when I said two minutes ago.
But he's already in New York. What
it's a disaster, Cory, is what I'm saying.
Why do they keep naming it the home thing, though? I mean, the first one was like, oh, I get it. He's back. He's coming tomorrow. Why do we have to keep saying the home thing? Why is it the home trilogy?
I don't know. For how good those movies are, they are terribly, terribly named.
That's very true.
It's true.
Most of the other Marvel movies are pretty good names, but not that one.
Do they?
Not Quantumania.
Yeah, that's the one that is stuck in my brain right now because it's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. They do volume. They did volumes.
That is true. They did do volumes.
They do volumes. Good job, James Gunn.
Yeah.
James Gunn, bring that energy into DC. I just keep it consistent. I don't want to guess.
Especially
I'm not that
in the DC
smart.
universe, you need it because we've already done like 3.5 reboots. Some things are canon. Some
It
things
would be
are not.
very
You
funny
just need
if
the
the
numbers that we don't lose our minds.
This is just Batman 10. Just know, like,
Just pull the Samsung thing where you just go to the year. It's like they went from like the Galaxy S9 to the S20.
just love it. No, that's smart. Let's just fucking do that.
Justice League 2025 is the name.
I think that's kind of pretty much what it is. It's like, what are you gonna call it? The Justice League now? Was it just Justice League?
That's
I don't care.
We say James Gunn will save us, but he already did the dumb thing where he made the second Suicide Squad movie just called The Suicide Squad.
Which I think is funnier to me, though, just because of how bad the first one was.
It's funny until I have to Google shit.
It is funny. It is funny until you have to figure out, like, I think my dad's like, I already saw this movie. I didn't like it. I'm like, no, it's a different one. He's
Yeah,
like,
that
the
also
name's the
couldn't have
same.
helped it. It couldn't have helped it.
No,
People
it
had to
definitely
have been
did it.
confused by it.
Especially because it was on streaming and regular Suicide Squad was already there.
Yeah. This is quite a tangent, even for us to open the episode.
It's okay.
We
We're just talking
haven't
about
even done the
comics.
plugs. Let's do the plugs really quick and we'll jump into it. Don't forget.
I blame Mario.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I also blame Mario. Don't forget, if you are Bowser or not Bowser and you've made it this far into the episode, go follow us at Next Time On Pod on our social media platforms. Also, nexttimeon.net for all of your archived podcasts, all of your writing. I got some stuff coming up that I'm started working on. Although the last thing I started working on, I had to bail on because I just couldn't write another whole fucking book and publish it. I didn't have time for it. I'm sorry. I do still kind of want to just do that finish off that March Madness thing because there's a ton of interesting movies from last year that we never got a chance to talk about. It might come out in like September of this year. We'll see. But don't worry about that. Also, if you're watching and reading along, Domino by Tony Scott coming up in the next couple weeks. We're going to figure out when we're doing that exactly, but that doesn't matter. You don't need to watch along with that. It's fine. Although I do, as somebody who hasn't gone back and revisited Domino in a number of years until I will finally rewatch it for this podcast, I sort of recommend that movie. I think it's fun, but we feel in every single time we do this, we go, that movie was better than we expected, right? And then it's actually worse than we ever remembered.
It's like for Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is the only one that has surprised us in the opposite direction.
Is it? I think it is actually.
I think there have been ones where we were like, that wasn't nearly as bad as I remember, but I think that's the only one where we were like, this is genuinely fun. Like I'm not calling Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter a good quote unquote movie.
No, it's not. It's a fun movie.
But I would say it's better than like almost all the blockbusters I watched last year. Like we're just in such this like.
I think maybe that's why I like Dungeons and Dragons so much because I was like, oh wait, movies can just be unabashedly fun if they want to be.
Dungeons and Dragons is one of the best blockbuster movies I've seen in a very long time, and it super tanked at the box office. It
sucks that we're plugging a fucking blockbuster.
But I think there is movies. I don't want every single time I go to the theater for it to be an Oscar.
No, absolutely not.
I like fun, big movies.
I love camp.
If every movie of that kind that I went to go see was as good as Dungeons and Dragons, I would be very happy. But as we've approved this last couple weeks, IP is all that matters. Now, could we have gotten a fun version of the Mario movie? Maybe.
Yes,
I say this as somebody who has.
We saw the Lego movies. We had the Lego movies. There has been good animated IP movies. We have Spider-Verse ready this year, but it's like they seem to have made, at least reading from the reviews, because I was curious, not enough to actually go see it, but it doesn't seem like it was anything more than this was fun. But everyone's saying it in the way of being like, this was fun. It's not good, but hey, it was fun. And I'm like, why do we have to? I don't like selling for that bullshit.
Skip ahead a few seconds because I don't want you to get mad at us. But there is maybe no cult of consumerism worse than the Nintendo fans. They have been abused by this company for years. Nintendo doesn't care about you guys. They don't like you.
No.
They don't want you to really even be playing their games if you're the over the age of 12. But
they don't want you to. They don't never lower their prices for video games. I think Breath of the Wild still goes for $60.
Yeah, $60. Yeah, but
Insane.
they are obsessed. They're like locked in. I think they've all been imprisoned in the basement of Nintendo's like headquarters or something. They are crazy about this company in a way that I don't get. And I mean, I haven't seen the movie. I can't imagine there's any universe where I'm gonna like it. But it also wasn't made for me. I haven't been trapped in the basement of what was that guy's name? It was the CEO
Miyamoto.
No, but the CEO.
Bowser. No, wait.
Yeah,
that's
Bowser.
Bowser's the newest one. There was one beforehand that was like the famous guy, but I think Bowser is the current like North American CEO or whatever.
I think this will be the last time we mention Super Smash Brothers.
No, it won't be.
Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Why are you lying to people?
All right, well, I'll try, but I just want to point out that nothing screams more about the response to the Super Mario Bros. Movie and its quality than if you go onto the Rotten Tomatoes and look at the two consensus. So the critics' consensus is as follows for a 58% review or aggregate. While it's nowhere near as thrilling as Turtle tipping your way to 128 lives, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is a colorful, albeit thinly plotted animated adventure that has about as many Nintendos as Nintendons, which is a horrible piece of writing. One of the worst sentences I've ever seen.
Ooh, can we what publication is that from?
It's like from Rotten Tomatoes. I actually don't know how they do the critics consensus thing. It must be somebody that writes it, or maybe at this point it's just AI generated.
That honestly could be. Hey, listen, man,
AI's
taking over the world.
From all the
AI's taking over the world. AI is the best thing ever. This is.
That's 58% off of 234
Do you think if
reviews.
we have enough audio quality, we have enough audio content. If we plugged it into an AI machine, we could just not do this podcast ever again, and no one would know.
I think our podcast is far too scattered for the AI models to
Speed Racer. I hate Heroes in Crisis. Che likes Tom King. I'm trying to think of what's some other ones.
I do like Tom King.
He does like Tom
King today. But the audience review for the Mario Bros. Movie, 96% off of 10,000 plus verified ratings, and the audience consensus is as
fuck
follows. Wahoo! And that's the whole thing.
All right, this has been a good recording, Che. I think we're done for today.
I just love that they have you guys in a fucking chokehold. It's great. I respect it. Listen, there's many things that I'm obsessed with in a way that's probably unhealthy. It just happens that one of those things isn't Mario. So.
Listen, I mean, I was hoping that the movie. I mean, like, listen, I would be fine if the Mario movie actually was good, but everyone sounds like it's very mid, and I'm like, we shouldn't be cool with this mid movie.
I've had multiple people tell me they liked it. It was bright colors. They both used the same. They both used the sentence. They both used the phrase "bright colors" in their review.
Were they doing shrooms?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It just seems like people really, really, really wanted this movie to be good, and it probably wasn't.
Why?
And they enjoyed it. I don't know. I'm always rooting for Anya Taylor-Joy though, so I'm happy
she's fine
collecting her paychecks.
She's very okay, Che. She's fine.
I'm a big Anya Taylor-Joy fan.
Honestly, I did want to see Keegan-Michael Key play Toad though, because that's just funny to me. That's just a very funny idea to me. But not enough to actually pay for it. I'll see you, piracy.
Well, I've just been 6 months
Mario stands?
Eating our hat after we finally watch this movie when it comes to whatever streaming platform it's going to be on.
Guys, we gotta, it's an apology that the Mario movie was better than Citizen Kane.
I'm also
wipes his ass with Casablanca.
I will absolutely, if this movie is good, which it won't be, but if it's good, I will say it. I'll admit it. But again,
we are open to being wrong. I'm less so me, but we're open to being wrong.
It's gonna be on the Peacock streaming app though, which is hilarious to me.
What? Okay.
Should we do the podcast now or what?
No. AI podcast from now on.
Corey says no, but unfortunately I say yes, and
he pays my bills.
The tie goes to the runner, so we're gonna do the podcast now.
He pays my bills. I have to do what he says.
What fucking bills?
You know.
Elevator pitch. You want to go first, Corey, or should I?
Oh, sure.
All right. A minute on the clock for Corey. Whenever you're ready, you can start.
All right. So my thing for my elevator pitch is a comic from the 90s called Starman, written by James Robinson, and at least the first couple issues drawn by Tony Harris. Just like it's one of those series that I've always meant to go back to and read, but I never got a chance to do so. And I kind of wanted to give a recommendation now where it's this character, very everyman type character whose father was the old Starman, and then his older brother became the second Starman, and the second Starman gets killed by a sniper. And the comic is pretty much him trying to step up and become the superhero while also still doing his own thing. But to me, it's a lot more of this character kind of struggling to live up to legacy and kind of it's his own person. And the comic itself kind of feels like it would have been written now, and it feels very like this guy living in a very bohemian city. Basically, he's a hipster superhero who's only a little pretentious, but it's very enjoyable. He also owns a vintage shop, so that kind of says everything about his character right there. It feels like it's written like about a guy in Brooklyn, like now. That's what kind of
pitched to you by a guy in Brooklyn.
No comment.
Cory likes to pretend that he hasn't been sucked down the Bushwick rabbit
hole. I have no what you're talking about.
Cory's actually basically a white girl. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Wow. How fucking dare you? I quit this podcast now. I'm done.
Oh, you can't quit yet. I haven't mapped all your voice to the AI yet.
Sorry. Is that why you have me read those random script words every day?
Yeah. There's a couple words that we haven't actually said on this podcast yet. That's why I texted you xylophone the other day just in case. All right, my pitch. The thing I am pitching is a TV show, which will surprise nobody. We are in basically like, I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but maybe the best time in TV ever. We're reaching like this big point of, like the best 3 months basically. We're reaching this point of what's the word? Like the peak of prestige TV before I think there's going to be a big collapse when all these streaming services start combining and there's not 1,000 different places to put your TV shows. And we are in the end of the Emmy eligibility season. So there's like 4,000 good TV shows right now. But the thing I am pitching is the little known TV show called Succession. Listen, I wanted to pitch something smaller that maybe people hadn't heard of. But when a TV show as big and successful as Succession is in its last season, and 2 weeks ago drops maybe the best episode of TV this millennia, I gotta mention it. I don't know if you're not watching Succession. There's not like a ton I can say to you about it. I don't really know what you're doing with your life, but I'm doing a podcast with you. the no spoilers Logan Roy episode last week is one of the boldest things I've seen a TV show do in a long time, and is just propped up by some of the best actors on TV right now. And again, there's just not like a ton I can say about Succession on this podcast that you will not have heard on a million other podcasts before, but I just felt I would be remiss if I didn't mention how incredible that episode was. This week's episode, a little bit of like a bridge to, I think, what will be an incredible closing half of this season. I did some like cursory Wikipediaing over the last like couple days, like today. And I was trying to figure out if this final season of Succession into the final season of Barry is the best Sunday lineup HBO's ever had. And there are some like peak Game of Thrones seasons where it would like back into Veep and Silicon Valley that are certainly up there. But I mean, I haven't been excited for a 30 minutes show outside of Atlanta the way I have for the season of Barry, considering the way the last one ended. And this premiere episode was wild. It's crazy to me that the guy who did like low-key problematic characters on SNL is pretty, it's like Bill Hader might be one of the best writers on TV right now. It's just pretty insane.
Is he also a writer on Barry?
He's the writer and showrunner, and he's directed a few episodes. And it is sort of like, as far as I understand, that show is basically Bill Hader and Alec Berg. Well, I don't think he's a murderer, but maybe.
Well, maybe. Look in those eyes. I don't know.
But like I said, we are just in like only Cory can see my doc, but there was like 400 TV shows I was deciding between.
There are a lot.
They're all great. But we're not talking about TV today, unfortunately. We're talking
about the NBA playoffs.
Do you want to talk about the NBA playoffs? I would love to discuss the Lakers.
That was a weird game.
Who are going to win the NBA title, I guess.
With behind Austin Reeves and Roy Hachimura.
It's a weird time to be alive, but that's not what we're talking about. We got.
I hate that I'm rooting for the Lakers because of Roy. Pisses me off.
I'm a LeBron guy, so I
like LeBron. I got no beef with him.
What it is I'm a LeBron. I'm not like a LeBron fan. What it is, I'm a LeBron truther. I think he's the best player ever, and I need him to win another title so that I can
keep on saying that.
I can start arguing with Jordan fans. Right now, I just ignore Jordan fans. They talk and I leave the room. But once he wins another title this year, carrying Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura to the championship.
I mean, just because LeBron is like in this era of the NBA where like people are like, I don't know, rewarding players like him instead of Michael Jordan who have to actually work for his. Okay, I'll stop. I'll be quiet.
Listen, Michael Jordan just got all his titles against Karl Malone and a bunch of plumbers, so I don't think it counts.
Karl Malone is a pedophile.
Karl Malone's a lot of things. Almost none of them are good. But that's not what we're talking about today. This episode has actually been unhinged. I don't know how I'm going to edit it, but this has been one of our more wild ones.
This is like, I'm in the midst of packing, and it's like, I've been sleeping like shit because I was watching a dog for the last week, even though I love her. So I'm finally like got a full night's sleep again, and I feel fucking weird.
Yeah, nothing worse for your mental than a full night's sleep. What are you doing?
No.
All right, we're talking about comic books today, and the first one up is Danger Street, which we are checking back in on. I think we talked about the first 2 issues a while back, and
we briefly did, yeah. It's hard to describe. I was about to say like what's a good breakdown for Danger Street, but it's kind of a hard comic to describe,
especially because we're 5 issues in. I'm still enjoying it as much as I was. I mean, I guess a little bit of spoilers on our conversation. I'm enjoying it as much as I was back then, and I still am not confident about how these stories intertwine. And King, in his, I guess in his wisdom or whatever, just continues to ask more questions and answers very few, which I think is what's really keeping me going with the story. Is that like, one, I trust Tom King, so by the end, I think we're gonna have answers to all, if not most of the questions. But I mean, especially in this 5th issue, maybe you know something like this that I don't about this. What is the purple smoke? That's another thing that's like seems like a massive thing that was sort of.
Che, I gotta be honest with you. I have no fucking idea.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I didn't miss something, because there's for people who read and are maybe not remembering what I'm talking about. There is a scene where Manhunter goes to kill one of the Green Team, the very clearly like creepy producer stand-in of them. I love how they're all like some different archetype of rich asshole. It's a good narrative.
Yeah, it's good.
But there's a purple mist that stops him from killing him, that by the end of the issue is not a concern. And the only thing that has changed is the death of, oh my God, what's his name?
The boy.
No, Star, whatever.
Starman. It's another Starman. There's many.
Starman.
I think they even make a joke about it because there's like 4 or 5 different Starmen, and I think for legal reasons, the Starman that I reference in my pitch is no longer available to DC because I think the guy has creator rights.
Got you. Well,
and he just is like, no.
So I don't want this Starman, who
is a different Starman.
No matter what, every time I look at him on the page, my brain calls him Nightcrawler. 100% of the time, no matter what. Can't do anything about it. I'm sorry. But the only thing that seems to change between the purple mist being effective and not is his death, and it's just another mystery that keeps getting entwined these like overlapping stories that haven't really connected yet. We have a lot of disparate things that sort of continue to like propel us down.
So I did a little bit of research actually, and so this kind of does make a little bit of sense in why this is like how this is what it is. So basically, there was this old comics anthology that came out in the mid-'70s called First Issue Special, There were 13 issues of it, and each issue would be presented as like, this is the first issue of potential storyline if this sells pretty well. And it started off, each of them, like there was 13 issues in total, but the first one was about a character named Atlas, obviously reference to the new god Atlas, but also, you know, Atlas who held up the sky, which seems to be a very central point to the story because Atlas is dead. The second issue is about the Green Team, a bunch of those asshole boy millionaires who seem to be a driving force who are also just dickheads.
It does seem like this book is the Green Team origin story.
A kind of, but there's also like, but it seems like we don't know necessarily where that takes place on the timeline because they seem like the same kids as the other kids, right? Or am I like?
I think these two stories are congruent. Like, there's going to be weird time travel stuff. Like
that's what I thought so too. But also, yes. By the way, Lady Cop is legitimately the name of the comic book that Lady Cop was from. It's just called Lady Cop.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this.
Character name is Lady Cop.
We talked about this in the first issue. Like Tom King loves to take really. I mean, he is nothing if not a comic book nerd. He loves to take really obscure characters and obscure comics.
The obscure.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's obviously most recently brought back into like the public consciousness Adam Strange, who was not. I mean, I would say a almost completely forgotten DC character for most fans.
I mean, for the most part, like I would know Adam Strange, like he pops up for 2 pages being like, yo, shit's going bad, and then he's just gone. That's kind of his entire character vibe. Not enough to actually have like a personality.
One Justice League episode or something.
And then also he basically was like, I don't know who came first, chicken or the egg, but he basically was just John Carter of Mars. And, you know, everyone in the now time period really is concerned about a white man in a foreign land. We still super care about that.
Listen, there's an Adam Strange solo TV series in development, so let's
fuck yeah, let's fucking do it. I don't think it'll be about the Tom King one.
Probably.
But just a quick rundown of the other first issue special characters. We had Manhunters, who seem to be a pretty big part about this. The Dingbats of Danger Street, which I think are also the kids, the stupid kids.
Yeah, they're the ones that
are gonna try to go murder.
Aren't evil yet, but
they're not. But evil will be yet.
Killing. Well, I guess at the end of this book, have killed somebody.
Oh yeah, I guess they have.
And all have the worst names ever.
They are very bad names.
I think Good Looks might be the dumbest name for a character ever written.
I want you to call me Good Looks, though.
Won't be doing that.
Why not?
For a number of reasons. Mostly because I don't like to lie.
That's fair. And that hurts. But also, we have the Creeper has his own weird storyline being like a Fox News personality, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even thinly veiled at this point.
Not subtle, but and even Batman comes to tell him to stop doing it, and he's like, "No, I'm right." It was one
of my favorite scenes in the book, actually, though, because I really liked it. I was like, okay, so this is going to be a real turning point for the character because we see that he is not in reality actually he doesn't believe anything he's saying, and also is not that confident in like the mission here. It's like a couple pages before he is confronted by Batman, we see him challenging one of the Green Team, the kid who's his boss, being like, I don't think we should fucking lie about this. Like, they're basically framing a fake terrorist organization that they've created for all these terrible things that are happening, and he's getting cold feet. But then when Batman confronts him, he suddenly is like, how dare you tell me what to do? I'm the people. You're like a creepy billionaire who wears a bat suit and flies, beats up poor people in the street. And it's the only correct thing he said all book so far. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like it's hard for me to actually give a shit about characters who are like that, but I get the whole point of the story that Tom King's telling. I've never been a big fan of the Creeper anyway. He seemed like a fucking weirdo and just.
Well, I don't think you're supposed to like him in this book either.
Yeah, but like then also Warlord, Dr. Fate, the Outsiders, who we keep getting name dropped.
Yeah.
Codenamed Assassin, who I guess is that bodyguard guy, Starman, the blue dude, and the New Gods, who we are kind of seeing as like kind of the background. I think this is actually I wish I kind of knew about this, the references from the get-go. This is actually a very cool idea for a book to kind of center it around. A very forgotten group of characters for the most part. I mean, we have seen them pop up for the most part. I mean, besides like Dr. Fate, none of these characters would really be like stand out and like, oh, I would recognize. I mean, the Creeper too, and obviously some New God shit. But like, I had no idea who the fuck Assassin was or the Green Team or kind of most of these people, honestly. The only reason I knew Warlord was because like some random Justice League cartoon episode from my childhood.
Right.
Because he's another white dude in a forgotten land that I don't give a shit about.
It is I think mostly because Tom King rarely does or usually doesn't do canon stuff. I think he gets a chance to like just really explore the parts of the DC canon that he's most interested in.
I'm a big fan of the Black Label. I think they're doing really good things in that area of it all.
I really like everything he's doing in this book. I just also am still surprised that we sort of have no idea what's going, like what the ultimate end goal of this plot is. Like I think it's interesting how many questions we have because we have like you were saying, we don't even know if these kids, two different kids storylines are existing in the same time or one's in the past, one's in the future. They've obviously not interacted with each other yet.
It definitely does feel like I'm reading 3 different comic books at the same time. For better or worse.
Which is how King often structures his books, but they will come together at some point.
His books read best when they're collected.
I did feel this when I was reading these last couple issues where I was like, this is like well structured, but I've just read, like I caught up on all 3 before this. I just read 3 issues and I feel like the plot has progressed not at all. I kind of want to just wait for what I
did read 3 through 5 in one sitting, which I definitely felt like it was a lot better for me to kind of process it and understand it. Is it gonna go to 12 issues or is it just 6? I can't imagine the story's about to end like right now.
If the next issue is the last one,
that would be wild.
I can't imagine this will end up being a good book because there's just so much stuff out there. I have to imagine it's 12. I mean, that's pretty much the standard for King at this point. He does the 12 issue run. I can't.
Seems like it, yeah.
Even like Supergirl was 12, right? That was his last big thing.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I would be surprised because, like we both said, there's not enough going on, or not enough that's been like concrete as far as plot connectivity goes that we do have be able to end this book now. The Lady Cop storyline, I have no idea what she's doing. And she's supposed to be, she's as being referred to by the narrator as the princess. I think she's, in a sense, one of if not the main character. Is that what's gonna?
I'm assuming so, right? Like, and
she's the only person that is like at the moment both pure of heart and like unscathed by, but hasn't done anything to like taint their character. I think she's the quote unquote the purest, and would be a good stand-in for the hero in this book that's been structured like a fairy tale. Because even these kids, like we said, the kids who probably become the Green Team, but even in the version before they're the Green Team, they commit a murder, they kill a guy.
I still don't even know. I don't know if they're supposed to be the same kids. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that just yet. So how do they get rich? I don't know what's happening in the story.
What it's going to be is whatever happens to bring back this kid from the dead is what is going to set in motion the events that make them the Green Team. Because we end this book with Warlord digging up the body and presumably taking it to the helmet to bring him back to life, and Starman sacrificing himself so that he can do that. I would imagine that bringing somebody back to life will not go as smoothly as these guys are planning.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. But again, it could easily not be that. There's just a lot going on, which I appreciate. But like you said, I think we both are in agreement this book is probably going to read better as a collected edition. I always wonder, why do you think they don't just do
that
more full-length graphic novels?
I assume there probably is some kind of like study to see that money making by just doing both is probably like a lot more money than just doing like all graphic novel at once, I'm assuming. And also I think it is harder for people because this book's probably going to end up going for like $20 or $30 for people to actually drop money on a full graphic novel. I mean, I think what Image or whoever was doing a couple years ago when they had their first volumes for like $10 was the smartest thing possible, because then people were buying like 6 issues and people were a lot more likely to buy another volume. Like this book is going to be like, I'm assuming this book will be at minimum $20, $25. And it's like, I like Tom King. I mean, you like Tom King, obviously, but like for the regular person who has no idea what the fuck Danger Street is, it's going to be kind of a harder sell, I think. But I don't know.
Yes. I mean, that is a nature of like momentum though. Like it's hard to change the comic book industry, but like I routinely buy books for $25 that I haven't read.
We're weird
of yet.
All right, Mr. Moneybags.
I just think that's how people buy books, though, right? People go and
That's fair.
go and you buy
I don't
your
like
copy of The Night Manager, and you're like, well, that's gonna be good.
Don't call out my current bookshelf. I really don't appreciate this sass that you're giving me.
I respect The Night Manager. Is a great book.
I've never read The Night Manager. I did watch The Night Agent, which I think is the same exact concept. Don't watch that show, guys.
Sure, yeah, you'll be sadly disappointed when you revisit it, but I think I'll let you live in that.
Wait, the TV show The Night Manager?
The TV show The Night Manager is based off of the John le Carré book The Night Manager. Yes.
Oh, well, should I finish that show? Sorry.
I like both The Night Manager the book
Okay.
and The Night Manager.
I'm sorry,
TV
guys.
show.
I forgot we were on air for a second. We take a break.
Unless you got anything else to say about Danger Street, we can take a break.
No. I mean, like, I think I'm agreeing with you. I kind of want to just, I got to imagine probably gets a little bit more answers next issue just because either it's going to be the end or the halfway point.
It's definitely not the end. Can we? I think we can say that now. It's definitely. There's no way it's the end, right?
I hope not. But I don't know.
Unless it's a 100-issue book, I don't see how it could possibly be the end.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, but all right, that sounds good to me. I genuinely have no idea how many issues it's supposed to be, though. I hope we're wrong.
Do you want to talk about The Night Manager more?
Nope.
All right, well, then we'll take a quick break and we'll come back.
You didn't answer my question. Should I watch it or not? All right.
But Night Manager's great.
Sabini's day's done. I'll protect you now. Now shut up. Stop fucking whinging. Use my razor blade. And a few complaints from the neighbours about the terrible fucking music. Do you want to tell them or should I? This place is under new management. By order of the Peaky Blinders.
And we're back.
What's up?
All right. We're going to attempt to have a more structured conversation about this next book as it is
Agreed.
over. And that is Gotham Year One, the 6-issue run, also by Tom King. Just a coincidence that these two things happen to come out at the same time. And so we talked about, I think, up to the penultimate issue last time we checked in with this book. But basically, excellent concept from King. This is basically the story of how Gotham became the Gotham you know, which is like this horrifying, exaggerated version of a metropolis that's
just evil.
Yeah, that is like seems to like destroy all the good in people, and is obviously like for DC at the beginning and even still now they have like Metropolis headed by the bastion of good that is Superman, and then Gotham City, which is this
Just
den of
yeah.
That is
everything bad.
Right. That is helmed by the, let's say, flawed superhero Batman, who, if you even think about him for half a second, you realize is
how insane. This guy is like, oh, this is the solution to our problems here. This is
Right.
that's just a general.
Batman is Jeff Bezos if he put on a mask and beat criminals up at night, which is crazy, but we love him. We love him. All right, going to run down the plot of Gotham Year One as we've concluded with the 6th issue. So we are following this case of Slam, who's the incredibly named detective, who is tracking down what happened to the kidnapped daughter of the Wayne family, who, when we meet them at this point in Gotham Year One, are Bruce Wayne's grandparents. And at first, before the baby is kidnapped and he's trying to track down where the daughter is, I think it's like issue 2 or 3 where she is found dead. Buried in the backyard of the black woman who has dropped off like the ransom note, and it seems like is a big part of this conspiracy to what appears to be a strong arm play to get just to get the Waynes to stop building this factory in a poor section of Gotham City. At the conclusion of the book, it turns out that this is all far more insidious, which is the nature of Gotham. At its heart is that basically Wayne conspired to have his daughter fake kidnapped so that he could get a ransom payment from his wife. You would think he'd be able to just ask for money, but because he has squandered away his fortune, and in it was an accident, but I think if you have your daughter fake kidnapped, it's still on you. His daughter dies.
100% on him. Yeah, the daughter dies from nobody killed the baby directly. I think it was like she choked.
I think that's not sudden infant death. She basically,
I think she chokes on her own vomit.
And chokes, yeah.
And nobody
because of the negligence basically of these parents. And at the end of the book, we are left with this broken city because the kidnapping of, as they refer to her, their little princess, turns this already like bubbling cauldron of racial violence up to 11. And there is what is the acronym they use? The NWC, Negro. I can't remember, but it's like the calling cry of these this white violence against the black residents of Gotham. And I think there's something that Tom King is doing here with like the history. So NWC's Negro went crazy, by the way, which is used to refer to our guy Slam, who it turns out is a black man passing. He's like he can pass basically in both worlds, as he says. He's half black, half white, but is, I suppose, ambiguous enough. The art in it doesn't make it very clear. I mean, in the art, he looks incredibly white. He looks like he looks like Bruce Wayne, but I get it. I wonder
why he looks like Bruce Wayne, huh? So I think the entire point of this comic is that Bruce Wayne is actually a quarter black. All right, guys, it's
I didn't even really clock that, but yeah, I guess if we are meant to believe that Slam fathers Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne, which is
so he's an
eighth black.
Eighth black.
Yeah. Which for many people below the Mason-Dixon line is full black.
It's bad, yeah. That's just enough.
Or too much, one way or the other. But I think what I really love about this book is, one, it taps into like a fixation on noir that I've always had and don't feel like we don't get enough of. And two, I think it utilizes the like Gotham is this broken city motif better than any book I've ever read, besides maybe Batman Year One, another classic of the genre. But Corey, what were the things you really liked about this book? We'll just talk about.
Well, first off, I mean, I just think it's does such a good job of like just doing the noir detective mystery very well. It's a very good slow burn. Mm-hmm. I think it tells a very interesting and well done mystery that, I mean, any mystery that you kind of can just like say out loud at the end of it, it doesn't sound as interesting or as well done as a tale that like actually weaves throughout it. It's very simple.
Because by the end, when there's only like 4 characters in play, it's not going to be like a shock who did it. Really.
Exactly. But it's never like, I probably mentioned this beforehand, but it's never really should be like a who did it. It's always a why did it. Mm-hmm. And like, that's always like the best question that you should ask in a mystery. And I mean, we do have all the answers by the 6th issue going into it, but the whole explanations and the way that everything just we're still not clear.
We are mistaken going into the 6th issue, at least, about, we think she killed the baby. But it turns out it was like, we think she killed the baby and hired, the bodyguard basically to cover it up. But it turns out it was an accident, and she's like been grieving this entire time, culminating in one of my favorite artistic pages of the book where she confronts her husband finally and shoots him in the face. because he's garbage. He's a garbage.
He's a very bad man.
Got their daughter killed. Yeah. I love that page because it is when it's also it's not a reveal, but it reminded me of what the narration is, because we find out in the first book that obviously this book is being told as a narration to Batman, basically. Like Slam is telling Batman, I suppose, like nearly on his deathbed.
Yeah, it seems like it, but also it does seem like Slam is very well aware of who Batman is.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean he says that's on this. He says that's how your grandfather died. He knows he's Bruce Wayne. I would love to know how Slam became like one of the 3 people who knows.
Just a damn good detective.
But
I mean, come on, think about it for more than 3 seconds. Of course, Bruce Wayne's Batman.
No, we talked about this. Didn't think I was ever going to mention this show again. We talked about this when we were talking about that fucking CW.
Oh yeah, like his fucking
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights.
It was like, okay, so Bruce Wayne is dead,
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately everybody puts together that he was the Batman. But you should have been able to piece together like the only person in this town with this a very similar build to Bruce Wayne, and also the only man who has any funds to do any of the things that he does. I wonder who that could be.
Exactly. It's like you're in a city. The guy's gonna be there all the time, and he has a fucking plane. That
Just like
lowers your list to like 3 people max.
Just like if I ever see an Iron Man suit flying around, I will know for a fact it's that fucking loser Elon Musk.
Yeah, but he'd probably be dead within the same day, though.
I'm not gonna be worried about it, but I'm just like I know who it will be.
CNN alert. Elon Musk runs into building with his own Iron Man suit.
He built it to impress Grimes and fucking crashes into an.
It's cool. She's a fucking bigot too, man.
Yeah, I'm not a Grimes believer either. But I did see a hilarious theory that somebody said, and I'm with absolutely no evidence to it. I 100% am confirming it here. That Elon Musk bought Twitter so that he could read Grimes' DMs. Imagine spending $44 billion because you're down all the way bad.
About Grimes, who's a racist.
Listen, they're all racist.
They're all racist all the way. Yeah, he's a white dude for that.
Got distracted though. What else?
But also, I mean, like we were talking about the writing so much, though. I also cannot discount on how well done the art is in this book. Yeah. I think the art is like
it just fits so well. I mean, it is like
use of negative space is so well done. Paneling, the coloring too. It just goes from page to page, and everything feels so impactful and meaningful. It's like this is one of those kind of stories where it would be hard to translate this to like film or TV because of how it like looks and like the use of like the white or like the characters being in red. I'm looking at the last issue primarily, mostly where Slam and Thomas and his whatever Wayne are fighting, and they're draped in red, and this is Helena. I don't actually remember the name of Constance. Wayne is just like watching from a chair, very Lucille Bluth kind of vibe, as these two are just duking it out, and she's like kind of bathed in this nice blue, and then it kind of translates to the white, back to the red, and it's just like a very well done, just swinging back and forth of just like how powerful colors can be, especially in a comic book medium.
Yeah.
And this would just be distracting if I watched it in a movie, I think, but with the way that it's done here.
You say that you don't think it could. I was thinking about it mostly because in the same book you were talking about, we get, and earlier we get a lot of black and white stuff. This movie has aged terribly, so I'm not saying it should be like it, but it reminded me a lot of Sin City and the way that Sin City looked. And
fair, that's fair.
I could see if you were going to do that, like a very stylized black and white version with splashes of color every once in a while. I could see this being effectively adapted on a screen. Again, I don't think we should get Frank Miller to write the script.
No, really. Also, I like the way this artist draws smoke. Yeah. Everyone's smoking, and it looks cool as shit. And now I want to go smoke a cigarette. So thanks, Tom King.
It is one of the things I find when I'm watching like an old movie, because smoking now, characters don't really smoke anymore,
because mostly this is rules and shit.
Yeah,
you can't smoke a cigarette on Apple TV.
That seems
you'll never see someone smoking a cigarette on Apple TV. You can smoke weed.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, part of that doesn't surprise me. I think it's a weird rule to make, but it also, I don't even think about it now because I never in real life see people smoking cigarettes anymore. But yeah, I every time I'm watching,
I live in Bushwick.
It's true. Every time I watch like a movie from like the 1950s or something, and I'm like, oh, they're all smoking. Like all Humphrey Bogart did was wear hats and smoke cigarettes, and he looked sick. And that's like,
it's cool.
That's how you became one of the greatest actors of all time. It's just being
guys.
Smoking.
You heard it here first on the Next Time On podcast. Smoking is fucking cool.
I think legally we can't say that, right?
Who's gonna stop us?
We're on the Apple Podcast Network. Maybe they're gonna come for us.
Oh shit. Well, we're not depicting. We're just talking about it and saying how fucking cool it is.
There is a lot of like weird regulations. I didn't realize until recently that so you know how there's a trillion beer ads on TV, and
of course,
like most ads appear to be beer ads. You've never seen a beer ad, or at least in the last decade or something. You haven't seen somebody drink a beer in a beer ad. It's not allowed. They're holding the beer. They like zoom in on the condensation on the side. You cannot show somebody drinking a beer on TV, which has been
that's actually pretty crazy.
It didn't really clock, and now that you know it, you'll
you'll
notice it every time. There's an ad that's been running during the NBA playoffs that is like a Viking thing. I don't know. I usually have it muted, but there's a Viking that drinks a beer, but it cuts away as he like puts the can. He's like bringing the can toward his mouth, and it cuts away, and then it cuts back, and he goes like, ah, like you don't get to see it. It's so weird. But yeah,
what a strange rule.
That is part of the reason why we'll probably never see a Gotham Year One adaptation, because they'd have to smoke so much. And
yeah, but I want it now. But honestly though, I'm happy. We talked about this when the 5th issue came out. I think this stuck the landing. I think this was a fantastic book, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do think the 6th issue is it's never the resolution of mysteries is never as interesting as the build up to them. I still think the 5th issue is the best one, but there is stuff that's happening in the beginning of the 6th issue that is really like the catalyst for what I think is great about this book. It is like, I don't really know how to say this without sounding really cheesy. I love the stuff that Tom King is doing, like in the race relations part of this book.
I think so too. I think it's very like subtly part of the story, but it's also very well done. It's like important to the story, but I feel like it's not necessarily at the forefront.
It's like a rumbling underneath until it explodes, and then it becomes this, believable moment of like real change in Gotham. And it's obviously a big part of Gotham Year One is that actually Gotham has been awful the whole time. It was just hidden better. And what happens in the wake of this tragedy in the city is that all of the terrible things about the city come to the forefront. And I love, like, I think Slam is like a great choice for a main character for this book, because he is this dichotomy of these two worlds. He's a black man and a white man. He's also this, he was a cop who was entrenched in the corruption of it until he was, cast aside by them because he beat a cop in the ear to death because of their corruption, like because of their racism toward a black prisoner. And he is both like these two sides of this world, and because of that can sort of like transgress the line and throughout it. And it leads us to this moment where he is like, in a lot of ways, reached like the very, very top of the social ladder, where he sleeps with Owain and probably fathers her child, and also is like reveals that these two people are actually as corrupt and evil and flawed as the world around them. I don't know. I think this is a book that I've only read it through once. I really want to go back and revisit it now that it's all complete. And I think it's just he's just got all these subtleties throughout it that I think are just beautifully executed.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if they ever explicitly state what Slam's last name was. I'm wondering if he chose the name Bradley, like to kind of like be much more of like a passing name. Because I was looking back at it, and the reason that he was like one of the reasons that they said they picked him was that it was the first name in the phone book. And I think that might also be another part of it. Him like changing his name to this to fit this is also another reason why he got so enthralled and involved in this whole conspiracy.
Yeah. I
don't
think we
another note. Yeah.
We meet his mother, but I don't think we.
They just they just touch on the whole like it's just alphabetical, which I think in a sense I think it's also just a very fun way to have a mystery character where it's like you weren't even meant to be here, but like you're just here now. But
yeah,
and I was like those kind of stories. Yeah,
without any real reason, and then it turns out that he is probably the best person for this this crime.
I mean, he solves the crime, but at the same time, it doesn't not a happy ending.
No, but I think that is the nature of like Gotham, right? And the nature of Batman stories in general is that at the heart of them, it will always be like darkness.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think those are always the best Batman books. That is like, I mean, I always go back to Arkham Asylum because it's my favorite book. It is, I think my favorite Grant Morrison book ever. But it's just this book that like it doesn't relent. It's so dark, and you're so stuck. You're so mired in the evil that is surrounding Batman. And that is like my favorite connection with the character. That's why I never really connected with Superman, because I think it's hard to make him dark and interesting. And there have been good Superman books. Don't get me wrong. We've talked about some of them on this podcast, but I think there's more depth to a character in a city like Batman and Gotham than there can be with something that's supposed to be a bastion of righteousness like Superman is. So.
It's fair. But no, man, I think I really like this book though. I'm excited. I think I'm gonna pick up the trade copy whenever it comes out. I'm excited to read this through again in one sitting.
Yeah. I do think the 6-issue run was probably smart, but I kind of wish we got to spend more time with all these. I know obviously it's paced out really well. I'm not saying that we needed more or less, but I do think King could have expanded this more if he wanted to, and we spend more time with these characters, or even just more time in the world. Like maybe we will. King is not one to go back and revisit stories, but I wonder if maybe there will be a Gotham.
I would love another detective led story. Like he's a really fun character, and I would love to see some more of like. Especially like just kind of like because Gotham City's just such a shit show, and it's kind of interesting to be like it always has been a shit show.
Well, even like the closing part of this book, it's literally about the
and like making the Jokers
and poisoning the city. Literally, I mean this character that we like have sort of redeemed is shown to have been actually literally poisoning the water of Gotham, and that is the closing note for the story in a lot of ways. Yeah, it is. Obviously, like you said, not a happy ending.
Sorry,
it's bleak in a way that I think is really effective. Obviously, but if you're looking for a happy conclusion to your story, you're not going to get it here.
This isn't a happy one.
No.
Let's go to break. I got a cough.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about another bleak comic book, I guess.
Now, this one really upsets me. We have an out-of-tune player here. Before I continue, would that player care to identify himself? No? Okay, maybe a bug flew in my ear. 115. 5, 6, and. No? My ears are fine. We definitely have an out-of-tune player. Whoever it is, this is your last chance. And there it went. Now, either you are deliberately playing out of tune and sabotaging my band, or you don't know you're out of tune, which I'm afraid is even worse. Reads 5, 6, and. Bones. 5, 6, and. He's here. Tell me it's not you, Elmer Fudd. It's okay. Play. Do you think you're out of tune? There's no fucking Mars bar down there. What are you looking at? Look up here, look at me. Do you think you're out of tune?
Yes.
Then why the fuck didn't you say so?
I've carried your fat ass for too long, Metz. I'm not going to have you cost us a competition because your mind's on a fucking Happy Meal instead of on pitch. Jackson, congratulations, you're fourth chair. Metz, why are you still sitting there? Get the fuck out! For the record, Metz wasn't out of tune. You were, Erickson. But he didn't know. And that's bad enough.
And we're back.
What's up?
All right, final book of the 3. Another conclusion. This is the 18-issue run, plus a little, I don't know what to call it, like one-off backstory thing. Basically, 19-issue run of Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky, Ramon K. Perez, and Mike Spicer. The concept of this book, which we haven't talked about in quite a while. We talked in with I think the first 5 or so issues, and it's been since then, which I think now would have been almost 2 years ago. Since we talked about it, or maybe just over a year and a half or something like that.
It might be, yeah.
Basically, in a town called Stillwater, the titular town, there is a curse or a gift from the gods, depending on how you look at it, where the people of Stillwater, when you are inside the town's borders, cannot be killed or hurt or age or even really need to eat. They're basically stuck in time, and a child of Stillwater is invited back to the town and sees a child get thrown off a building. I forgot that was
that's the inciting incident. Yes.
Until we get the
it's a really good one.
Yeah, the flashback. But basically, that leads to a cascading series of events that basically exposes the town and sets off a series of basically an incredible violence for. I guess this book runs for like a few years. It's not entirely clear. Mostly
how long
because,
the timeline?
Yeah, mostly because of the nature of the concept of exactly how long. But we span a fair amount of time to the closing of the issue, or to closing into the 18-issue run, where we end in a place that is, I think the reader is supposed to feel pretty conflicted about, and I do have some questions about what you think about the way this book concluded. But before we jump into all that, Cory, any general thoughts about Stillwater and your thoughts on this?
I think it's a really good concept for a show. I mean, for a comic. I think it's a really good concept, and it's a very interesting idea. You want to see how this develops more. I never was super interested in the actual mystery behind the whole thing. I think I was so quickly caught up into what are the politics for a town where no one can die, and they've been stuck like this for 30 years now. And
I think that's why issue 16 was just I didn't think we needed this, where we get
it wasn't
Clara reveal. Yeah,
I never really cared too much about that. If anything, I would have been it's fine. It's just fucking I could have been it's just haunted or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, I suppose you need the mechanics of how it works, because then you have the ending, the cold water thing, and the ending of the book.
Yes.
But I wonder if they could have just had I wonder if Zdarsky could have just had the map of the town and would need to explain. I think the Clara piece of it just maybe, I don't know, it makes the story. And obviously, I should say this. I liked the issue in a vacuum. I think that Clara issue is really well written.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was a very good, that would be a very good by itself story. I thought that was very
But I just simply don't think it knowing how the curse works, I don't think is important to the story at large. And the fact that we get it so late in the run, I mean, we have 2 issues left when we get the Clara story, is I thought an interesting decision that maybe didn't work that well. Which is surprising, because the only other issue
I always do laugh that whenever something happens, I'm like, well, it was Satan, basically. And I'm like, that's always kind of funny to me. Wait, what happened? Why is it alive? Satan. Okay.
Unless, I mean, I guess the thing is is this, the book never really makes the decision, which I think is smart. Is this a gift or a curse?
That's a good question, because we definitely have seen it in both directions about how this could be taken. Some people have thrived with it, other people have been driven insane. I mean, being a child forever sounds like hell.
Yeah, the Galen character who becomes the story's villain,
which makes sense. I get it. I would be a villain too.
In the second half is I think a really effective one. I also I think he's right in a way, and it's never really addressed because obviously there's just two sides of the same this argument. But I have to say I think he's right in that you can't just let this town be exposed. Like no matter how awful basically first the judge and Galen are, like they're killing people and burying people alive to stop them from releasing the secret of the town. Before obviously the conclusion of this book, which is that, and we'll talk about that later, that like the whole world becomes Stillwater. But I don't think you could tell the world about a place where people are immortal. That's not.
Yeah, no, it would
only be bad things would happen from that.
Yeah, no, they would only be like, experimented upon, or wars would be fought over it, or like there's not.
It would be bad for the Stillwater residents, but it would be worse for the world at large. Think about if you found out one day there was a small town in Middle America where if you went there you would be invincible and live forever.
Oh, people would fight over it, but also imagine the skyscrapers.
Yeah.
That would be horrible.
It just built straight up.
Straight up.
They would get nuked, and then they would build them straight up again, and it would be a nightmare forever.
Okay, actually, you know what? Actually, I lied. Now I want that book. That would be a good second arc.
I think that, but that's not the second arc we're getting because of the nature of the closing of the book. I don't know. Sorry, I cut you off. You were talking about what you liked about it.
Definitely thought the first half of this book was super strong. I am on the same level with you as when they gave the reveal. I was very much like, I don't really give a shit about the reveal. And even the way it kind of concluded itself, I thought that was like fine.
I think it's very hard to land high concept sci-fi and fantasy like this book. I think because for a conclusion, you feel like either as the author, maybe this was Zdarsky's decision, or maybe this was an editorial decision. I think you feel like you need to give the audience answers, and I don't really ever need answers in a book like this, which is why the conclusion, the last, I think 2 to 3 issues is probably the weakest part of the book. Not entirely. Like I said, I think there's parts of the clear issue I really like, and even there's parts of the final 2 issues where we get this real like culmination of the Coldwater-Stillwater feud coming to a head. There's some really well-written stuff in there.
I thought so too.
It feels too neat in a book that I think has far too many interesting questions with really complex answers. Like we were saying, I don't think there is a good answer to this. Unfortunately, the answer to this might be to bury Clara alive for the rest of eternity. But like you can't do that. That's not how you can't treat people like that.
That's not how you solve the problems out here. I also I don't know if I just was just me, but I just kind of stopped liking the main character. I think at the end, and I get the whole we can't fight for everything, but I'm like nah man, this ain't the fucking time to be like love and peace bullshit. Like this is I get what you're saying, but this is not the ride you're trying to do right now.
He becomes an archetype of a good guy rather than like an interesting character. This is we're talking about Daniel, who is the son that it gets released from Stillwater and comes back and it sets off the course of events, and he becomes like a messiah character near the end.
I see that Jesus-y trope where the main character kind of has an epiphany and becomes the good guy kind of vibe, and they change the world through peace and music. I mean, shit, one of my favorite comics of all time, 20th Century Boys, has a thing like that at the end, and I'm not a big fan of that change either. Yeah. But
which is kind of why
might just be a personal thing.
I wish Zdarsky had been more clear on how long the story's been going on, because there's that moment where they return to the town, the three, Daniel, his mother, and
I think it had been a month or two. I think
it's got to be. He grows an entire Jesus beard. I thought it was supposed to be maybe a couple years.
I think it was a couple months. I don't think it was a couple years. I think it was.
His mom gets yoked.
Because they were, yes, but I think they were also saying it's we've been able to keep them off the social media stuff for a while, but it's not going to last forever.
Right, yeah. I could see it being a short amount of time, but that sort of epiphany, if he had been living with this horror for years, I could see it really drastically changing who you are as a person. But that version of Daniel we meet at the beginning of the story is not the version of Daniel we have at the end. And I think that's a big part of my issues with his character to close the book, is not because I'm like, I think that kind of character can be interesting, but it has to really be earned, and I don't know if he earns it. And also, I don't think he's in the right either. So like, if you have this righteous character that is...
Yeah, it's very much a character who I'm like, I know I'm right now, but I'm like, you're not, though. Like, you think you're right, but like, ultimately, it's not as nuanced as you gotta stop fighting. I'm like, nah, man, that's not really how, like, this isn't gonna be won if no one fights. Like, if you don't fight, the other time's just gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Or worse. They can do worse.
Yeah. And I think the fact that there is no easy solution to this is a thing that isn't really contended with at the end of the story. Like, it is very nice and neat to end the story with being like, well, we solved it with diplomacy, and in the grand scheme of things, there was far fewer bloodshed than we thought there was going to be. But now, like the world is destroyed in a way. Like, you
basically, yeah. I mean, it's kind of apocalyptic if you think about it for too long. It's like, yeah, no, like, it's like kind of apocalyptic. Yeah, we know that they took over Coldwater and it's been 2 weeks, but I don't think they're being pretty vague about the time period between our main characters leaving and coming back. Yeah.
There's a few things like that are clearly time skips. Like Galen has been in charge for way longer than it seems by the end of the book. Like, we do a couple time skips through Galen's
Rise to power,
yeah. And it's like, and again, it's like a pretty tragic character that turns into a villain, and by the end is
still a tragic character,
right? He will not get to age ever if there's like if we were to be believed how the conclusion of the book suggests that the entire world is now cursed.
The entire world's now hell.
Yeah. I like I said, I think this book has a lot of interesting stuff to say. I'm with you that I thought the first half was the most successful part of it. And I kind of just wanted to spend... I know that's not how stories can ever work, especially not comic books that need to have a beginning, middle, and end. But I kind of just wanted to exist in the world of Stillwater for...
I felt like it would be a very good TV show. I think when I talked about this when it first started, like, I feel like this would be a very good concept for a long-running TV show, because I just think the politics and also the thought process involved in a town of immortals is such an interesting thing to play with. And I think Chip established a lot of very good rules with it too.
Yeah.
And even like, I understand having the finale of it and the expansion, but even when they expand to another town, I'm like, oh, this is where we're going with this. And when it ended,
I thought that was interesting because it's like out of boredom, like they're bored gods.
Yeah, it's just
that out of their boredom they curse. They like bring these people into their. They destroy their lives. It's like,
and obviously these people are kind of shitty people, but the Marine people who were like, don't you want to go somewhere? Like, why? Like, I'm tired of fucking the same person. And she's just like, waits for a beat. And she's like, you're fucking right. And it's just like, he's like, exactly. And it's like, I mean, well,
you would go crazy if you lived in the same place with the same 30 people for like hundreds of years.
Basically. And it is a small town.
I guess it's only been 50 years so far, but they are cursed to be here forever and like can't ever leave.
And not everybody stays happily married for sure.
Although I guess, you know what I wonder? We never really see this in the book, but I wonder if it's like the final season of The Good Place, where they discover that in their like existence, this perfect utopia of mortality, you have to have a way to end it. I wonder if there are people who voluntarily would be like, all right, it's my time. I'm going to go to the edge of the town. You can kill me and burn my body. And just like, this is the end for me. Because they were not letting people leave.
That's what I was wondering. I was going to think
like, I'm done. You can end it.
I was wondering though, do they actually ever acknowledge that people just want to like die?
I don't think we ever see that. We see only people trying to escape and then being brought back and killed.
Yeah, which is also.
Yeah, but we never really contend with the idea that like there's a couple characters who have been we see old people who have been like in their late 80s or whatever for 50 years now.
Jesus Christ.
And you would think that you'd just be like, I mean, that's how all these, we just talked about Berserker. The whole point of Berserker is it's this guy's quest to finally die. He's been alive for thousands and thousands of years. Yeah, like, obviously, these people have only been immortal for, 4 40 years by the time we meet them.
But even like, it's funny though, like, I mean, even the scene though at the end where they're like talking about social media, like they've been very disconnected from everything. Mm-hmm. They're not really aware how the internet works. They really didn't understand how much this really would fuck things up. Like not
a lot of ways they've just been locked in 1987 forever, right?
Some people like that. Some people like Stranger Things, but hey, we're not everybody. Yeah,
I just wonder, like, did they even have TV? We don't really. It's another thing we don't really address.
I don't think they touch on it. I mean, it doesn't seem like they understand how the internet works. So I guess they wouldn't allow the internet to be there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few questions like if we just been able to spend more time, but obviously Zdarsky's just interested in the propulsion of this particular plot, which is like about the destruction of this town. And in the course of that, I think there's a lot of really really well done stuff. The issue that I had the biggest problem with, other than the Clara issue, which I only had an issue with mostly in timing, is when we get the backstory of the sheriff. How did you feel about that issue?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I wasn't super.
Because I didn't buy that this person, her whole thing was, she was like racked with grief and like is doing everything to forget that she lost a child and a husband because of that. And then at the end of this book, she's given the opportunity to live forever. It's not a character that we meet who seems like they want to exist with this pain in perpetuity.
Yeah.
She chooses immortality, and I think it suggested that she murders the old sheriff to take his job. Which,
I think that's the insinuation.
I would love to. It's another thing. Again, I just would have loved to spend more time with that character and see that motivation. And it's possible that 18 issues was just maybe too short. And if that's really my only complaint about this is I would have loved to spend more time with this town.
I think so too. I think if anything, I would be excited to go back to the world and see what the rules in the story Chip would want to tell within that world. I don't think you tell the story with the same characters we have now, really, but I'm wondering, I guess probably some of them, but I'm wondering where we would really go.
Especially if it's a continuation of the canon. I wonder if you could do, what I would be interested in is like maybe an anthology thing where we just go across the world and see the way that this has affected the world throughout.
I mean, it definitely becomes a macro problem, like immediately.
Yeah.
Like it definitely could be an interesting way to look at like how government structure would work now and like the collapse of a lot of places. I mean, like I think we just mentioned earlier, but like we don't really know if people can have kids or not anymore. So
no, I think they can't have kids because I think you're supposed to believe these people are actually just like straight up locked in time. Like they are sort of like, because we have that conversation where Galen is talking to the person at the diner and they don't even get hungry, the people in Stillwater. So you would like your digestive system's not working. A number of things aren't happening. I don't think they can gestate an entire baby.
That's an excellent point.
And I mean, what would that even like? Yeah, because a baby,
why would you want
age. The fetus wouldn't be able to age or any of that shit. I don't.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So fuck. No, that's what I'm saying. I want to see more of this. I want to see more of this. I hope he does. I hope he comes back to it.
I agree. I was thinking the same thing to your original point that like this as a long running sort of episodic TV show would be really interesting. But the problem is we just don't like, that's not what Prestige is interested in anymore. It used to be the case that TV was.
I was thinking like a la The Leftovers, except in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Even Stillwater's not as bleak as The Leftovers.
No, I'm not saying no. I don't think we make it as bleak as. I mean, it's also Chip Zdarsky writing. There's still going to be a level of like levity with it. It's not like it's a dark book, but it's not like the darkest book.
Right, and I kind of like that the darkness of it is sort of like what's the word, like it seems weirder to us than it is, because obviously these people have this relationship with violence that we don't have anymore. One of my favorite moments when you see that is when the judge is getting the bailiff to like clear the courtroom, and the way he does it is just starts shooting people and they're like running out of the courtroom because obviously these people could die and they've only probably been shot.
Just hurts like a motherfucker. Before.
We were talking about this in Nice House on the Lake. Do not.
Don't shoot me. I don't want to get shot. It's like I don't care if I'll be fine. I don't want it to happen to me.
It's like, I know if I get punched in the face, it's not going to kill me, but I don't want to be punched in the face over and over again. Now, there are some guys who pay a premium for that sort of service.
But we won't talk about that on this podcast.
But I'm not one of them. Yeah, I don't know. So would you like to see this come back as a continuation of the story? Would you prefer if it ended here? We've got our 19 issues, 18 in the one-off, and we ended the story in a way where now it seems like the suggestion is that the entire planet is trapped in this curse with these people. There will be no new people born. There will be no new people die until somebody discovers that the way to end this is to bury this poor nice lady in the ground.
Is that the rule though? Is like if she gets buried in the ground, like that's when it stops?
Yeah, because we see that
guy
actually
dies.
gets killed. So like he buries her, they stab him. He's the only person that's ever died in Stillwater since the curse because she's been buried. And the second she's I wonder what happens if he goes into a basement. It's like, what are the rules here? But the second she's
got to go in the ground, I guess.
Die. Yeah.
Needs of the many.
Actually, weirdly, in sort of the same way as the Nice House on the Lake, like the second that we see the character turn off the invincibility, somebody gets killed
immediately. Like it's like 2 seconds.
It's like the one, and then they get turned back on. Yeah, didn't even really think about that. But so yeah, do you think that we are better off if we have concluded the story? And we both agree. We both really like this book. I think Stillwater has been one of my favorite Image books over the last couple of years. Do you think that we should, Zdarsky should revisit this if he's even considering it?
I think he should. I think maybe give us some time, but I think like if you have the time to tell a good story about this, I would do that.
I would certainly be interested to see what the world looks like after everyone's invincible. I think that's a pretty big story to tell, though. I wonder if if comic books are really an effective medium for that. I'd be more likely to read a novel, which is like suddenly the world, everyone became immortal.
Yeah, this definitely feels like, I feel like this would be a very good novel. Like, I think the story itself could just be told so long, and I think that's what I feel like I would like with this. I think the rules of the world is what interests me the most, I think. Or, like, the whole idea about where you go from this. That's what interests me the most from it.
Yeah, agreed.
I think the story you told was good. I just kind of think the establishment and the sell for it was just fantastic.
Yeah, it's a incredible concept, and it ends up being a great book.
I think so too.
Anything else to say about Stillwater, Zdarsky?
No, nothing else really to say for this. I thought it was a solid book. I think I did read the issues catching up with it, so I was a little bit lost, and I had to go back a couple issues. But I think I'm going to sit down and read the entirety all the way through and kind of like look at it through that lens again. But I definitely do recommend the book if you guys do see it out in the stands anywhere. I think it's a really good book. It's a really fun concept, and I think it definitely deserves the read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. It's like I said, it's one of the strongest Image books we've been getting over the last, I think it's been almost 3
been a while
now. Yeah.
I think it's also he was writing Daredevil and now Batman, so I think he wasn't making this his top priority. Like the first issue came out in September of 2020.
Mm-hmm. So not quite 3 years, but yeah.
Yeah, not quite 3 years, but it was like big breaks being told. I mean, like in 2022, I think only 5 issues came out. So it was like, they're taking a sweet time.
Still better than Doomsday Clock. So
I don't think we're ever going to get anything on par with that again.
No. But a couple points of business before we go. Just remember, we are reading Black Hole by Charles Burns for the book club coming next month. Also, don't forget, Domino by Tony Scott, Curse the Rewatch, is coming up soon. Don't forget to follow us at Next Time on Pod. If you haven't already, go over to the YouTube channel. Link is in the description below, or you can follow that at youtube.com/@nexttimeonpod. If you're on the YouTube channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, and all that good stuff really helps us out. We got big stuff planned for the rest of 2023, so we're hoping you guys will be with us on that journey. Anything else for the people, Corey?
Nothing else from me.
All right, well, I've been Che.
I've been Corey.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.